Norwegian Wood by Haruki Murakami. Haruki Murakami was born in Kyoto in 1949 and now lives near Tokyo. His work has been translated into 34 languages, and the most recent of his many honors is the Yomiuri Literature Prize, whose previous recipients include Yukio Mishima, Kenzaburo Oe, and Kobo Abe. His other works include "After the Wake", "The Elephant Vanished", "The Hard Boiled Wonderland and the End of the World", "Kafka on the Shore", "Underground", "What I Talk About When I Talk About Running", "A White Ship Chase", and "The Wind Up Birds Chronicle". Books by Haruki Murakami. Norwegian Wood. For many fatigues. Chapter 1. I was 37 then, strapped in my seat as a huge 747 blushed through dense cloud cover on approach to the Hamburg airport. Cold November drenched the earth and lent everything the gloomy air of a Flemish landscape. The crowd grew in rain gear, a flag atop a SWAT airport building, a BMW billboard. So Germany again? Once the plane was on the ground, soft music began to flow from the ceiling speakers, a sweet orchestra cover version of the Beatles' Norwegian Wood. The melody never failed to send a shudder through me, but this time it hit me harder than ever. I bent forward my seat, facing hands to keep my skull from splitting open. Before long one of the German stewardesses approached and asked in English if I was sick. "No," I said, "just dizzy." "Are you sure?" "Yes, I'm sure, thanks." She smiled and laughed, and the music changed to a Billy Joel tune. I straightened up and looked out the splendid window at the dark clouds hanging over the North Sea, thinking of what I had lost in the course of my life. Time's never gone. Time's gone forever. Friends who had died or disappeared, feeling I would never know again. The plane reached the gate, people began unlatching their seatbelts and pulling baggage from the storage bins, and all the while I was in the middle, I could smell the grass, feel the wind on my face, hear the cries of the birds. Autumn 1969, and I soon would be 20. The stewardess come to check on me again. This time she sat next to me and asked if I was all right. "I'm fine, thanks," I said with a smile, "just feeling kind of blue." "I know what you mean," she said. "It happened to me too, once in a while." She stood and gave me a lovely smile. "Well then, it was a nice trip. Auf Wiedersehen. Auf Wiedersehen." 18 years have gone by, and I still can bring back every detail of that day in the middle. Washed clean of summer dust by days of gentle rain, the mountains wore a deep brilliant green. The October breeze set white fronds of heathtail grasses swaying. One long streak of cloud hung past it across a dome of frozen blue. It almost hurt to look at that fall of sky. A puff of wind swept through the meadow, and threw her hair before it slipped into the wood to rustle branches and send back snatches of distant barking. A hazy sound that seemed to reach us from the doorway to another world. We heard no other sounds, we met no other people, we saw only two bright red birds leap starlit from the center of the meadow and dart into the woods. As we am alone, now God spoke to me of Wales. Memory is a funny thing. When I was in the scenes, I hardly pay it any mind. I never stopped to think of it as something that would make a lasting impression. Certainly never imagined that 18 years later I would record it in such detail. I didn't give a damn about the scenery that day. I was thinking about myself. I was thinking about the beautiful girl walking next to me. I was thinking about the two of us together and then about myself again. It was the age, that the time of life when every sight, every feeling, every thought come back like a boomerang to me. And worse, I was in love, love with complication. Scenery was the last thing on my mind. Now though, the meadow scene is the first thing that comes back to me. The smell of the brush, the faint chill of wind, the light of the hills, the barking of a dog, these are the first things, and they come with absolute clarity. I feel as if I can reach out and trace them with a finger trip. And yet, as clear as the screen may be, no one is in it. No one. Now God is not there, and neither am I. Whether could we have disappeared to? How could such a thing have happened? Everything that seemed so important back then, now gone, and the self I was then, and the world I had then. Where could they have all gone? It's true, I can't even bring back. Now goes fate. Not right anyway. At least, all I left holding is a black ground, sere scenery, with no people up front. True, given time enough I can bring back her face. I start joining images, her tiny cold hand, her straight black hair so smooth and cool to touch, a soft rounded earlobe and the microscopic mole just beneath it. The camel's hair coat she wore in the winter, her habit of looking straight up into your eye when asking a question, the slight trembling that would come to her voice now and then, as if she were able to speak on a wind hilltop, and suddenly her face is there, always in profile first, because Nago and I were always walking together, side by side. Then she turns to me and smiles and tilts her head just a bit, and begins to speak, and she looks into my eyes as if trying to catch the image of a miner that has darted across the pool of a leaf spring. I do need that time though, for now ghosts fail to appear, and as the years pass, the time has grown longer. The sad truth is that what I could record in 5 seconds, on too soon needed 10, then 30, then a full minute, like shadows lengthening at dusk. Someday, I suppose, the shadow will be swallowed up in darkness. There is no way around it. My memory is growing ever more distant from the spot where Naoko used to stand, ever more distant from the spot where my own self used to stand, and nothing but scenery that view of the meadow in October, returns again and again to me like a symbolic scene in a movie. Each time it appears, it delivers a kick to some part of my mind. Wake up, it says. I'm still here. Wake up and think about it. Think about why I'm still here. The kicking never hurts me. There's no pain at all. Just a hollow sound that echoes with each kick. And even that is bound to fade one day. At the Hamburg airport, though, the kicks were longer and harder than usual, which is why I'm writing this book. To think, to understand. It just happens when the way to be the way I'm made. I have to write things down to feel I fully comprehend them. Let's see. Now, what was Naoko talking about that day? Of course, the field whale. I have no idea whether such a whale ever existed. It might have been an image or a sign that existed only inside Naoko, like all the other things she used to spin into existence inside her mind in those dark days. Once she had let describe it to me, though, I was never able to think of that metal scene without the wheel. From that day forward, the image of a thing I have never laid eyes on became inseparably fused to the actual scenes of the field that lay before me. I can go so far as to describe the well in a minute detail. It lay precisely on the border where the meadow ended and the woods began, a dark opening in the earth a yard across, hidden by the meadow grass. Nothing marks its perimeter, no fence, no stone cob, at least not one that rose above the ground level. It was nothing but a hole, a mouth open wide. The stones of its color had been weathered and turned a strange muddy white. They were cracked and had chunks missing, and the little green lizards slithered into an opening seen. You could lean over the edge and peer down to see nothing. All I knew about the well was its frightening depth. It was depth beyond the measuring, and crammed full of darkness, as it as if all the world's darknesses has been boiled down to the ultimate density. It's really deep, said Naoko, using her words with care. She would speak that way sometimes, slowing down to find the exact word she was looking for. But no one knows where it is, she continued. The one thing I know for sure is that it's around here somewhere. Hands thrust into the pockets of her tweed jacket, she smiled at me as if to say, "It's true." "Then it must be incredibly dangerous," I said. "A deep well, but nobody knows where it is. You could fall in, and that would be the end of you." "The end. Ah, splat, finish. Things like that must actually happen." "They do. Every once in a while, maybe once in 2 or 3 years, some party disappears all of a sudden, and they just can't find him. So when the people around here say, 'Oh, he fell in the field yell,' not a nice way to die," I say. "No, it's a terrible way to die," said Naoko, brushing a cluster of glass seeds from her jacket. "The best thing would be to break the neck, but you would probably just break your leg, and then you couldn't do a thing. You would yell at the top of your lungs, but nobody would hear you, and you couldn't expect anybody to find you. And you would have centipedes and spiders crawling all over you, and the bones of the ones who died before are scattered around all around you." and it's dark, soggy, and way overhead there's this tiny, tiny circle of light like a winter moon. You die there in this place, little by little, all by yourself. Yuck! Just think about it make my flesh creep, I said. Somebody should find a thing and build a wall around it, but nobody can find it, so make sure you don't go off the path. Don't worry, I won't. Nako took her hand off her pocket and squeezed my hand. Don't you worry, she said. You'll be okay. You could go running all around here in the middle of the night and you would never fall into the well. As long as I stick with you, you won't fall in either. Never? Never. How can you be so sure? I just know, she said, increasing her grip on my hand and continuing on for a ways in silence. I know these things. I'm always right. It's got nothing to do with logic. I just feel it. For example, when I'm really close to you like this, I'm not the least bit scared. Nothing dark or evil could ever tempt me. Well, that answered that, I said. All you have to do is stay with me like this all the time. Do you mean that? Of course I mean it. Nako stopped short. So did I. She put her hands on my shoulders and peered into my eyes. Deep within her own pupils, a heavy black liquid swirled in a strange whirlpool pattern. Those beautiful eyes of hers were looking inside me for a long, long time. Then she stretched her full height and touched her cheek to mine. It was a marvelous, warm gesture that stopped my head for a moment. "Thank you," she said. "My pleasure," I answered. "I'm so happy you said that. Really happy," she said with a sad smile. "But it's impossible." "Possible? Why?" "It would be wrong. It would be terrible. It's terrible." Naoko clapped her mouth shut and started walking again. I could tell that all kinds of thoughts were whirling around in her head, so rather than intrude on them, I kept silent and walked by her side. It would be just be wrong. Wrong for you, wrong for me, she said after a long pause. Wrong how? I murmured. Don't you see? It's not, it's just not possible for one person to watch over another person forever and ever. I mean, say we got married, you would have to work during the day. Who's going to watch over me while you were away? Or say you have to go on a business trip. Who's going to watch over me then? Can I be glued to you every minute of our lives? What kind of equality would there be in all? What kind of relationship would that be? Sooner or later, you would get sick of me. You would wonder what you were doing with your life, why you were spending all your time babysitting this woman. I couldn't stand that. It wouldn't solve any of my problems. But your problems are not going to continue for the rest of your life, I said, touching her back. They will end eventually, and when they do, we'll stop and think about how to go on from there. Maybe you will have to help me. We are not running our lives according to some account book. If you need me, use me. Don't you see? Why do you have to be so rigid? Relax. Let your guard down. You are all tense up, so you always expect the worst. Relax your body, and the rest of you will lighten up. How can you say that? She asked in a voice strained of feeling. Now Ghost's voice alerted me to the possibility that I had said something I shouldn't have. Tell me how you could say such a thing, she said, starting down a ground beneath her feet. You are not telling me anything I don't know already. Relax your body and the rest of you will lighten up. What's the point of saying that to me? If I relax my body now, I fall apart. I have always lived like this, and it's the only way I know how to go on living. If I relaxed for a second, I would never find my way back. I would go to pieces, and the pieces would be blown away. Why can't you see that? How can you talk about watching over me if you can't see that? I say nothing in return. I'm confused, really confused. And it's a lot deeper than you think. Deeper, darker, and colder. But tell me something. Could you have slept with me that time? How could you have done such a thing? Why didn't you just leave me alone? Now we are talking. Now we are walking through the 5 foot silence of a pine wood. The, the seasited corpses of seasiders that had died at the end of summer litter the surface of the park, crunching beneath our shoes, as if searching for something we had lost. Nako and I continued slowly down the path of the wood. "I'm sorry," she said, taking my arm and shaking her head. "I didn't mean to hurt you. Try not to let what I say bother you. Really, I'm sorry. I was just angry at myself. I guess I don't really understand you yet," he said. "I'm not all that smart. It takes me a while to understand things, but if I do have the time, I will come to understand you better than anyone else in the world ever can." We came to a stop and stood in the silent woods, listening. I tumbled pine cones and decided sails with the toe of my shoe, then looked up at the patches of the sky showing through the pine branches. Hand thrust in her jacket pockets, Nako stood there thinking, her eyes focused on nothing in particular. "Tell me something, Toru," she said. "Do you love me?" "You know I do," I answered. "Will you do me 2 favors?" "You might have up to 3 wishes, madam." Nako smiled and shook her head. "No, 2 will be enough. One is for you to realize how grateful I am that you come to see me here. I hope you understand how happy you have made me. I know it's going to save me if anything will. I may not show it, but it's true." "I will come to see you again," I said. "And what's the other wish?" "I want you to always remember me. Will you remember that I existed, and that I stood next to you like this?" "Always," I said. "I will always remember." She walked on ahead without speaking. The autumn light filtering through the branches danced over the shoulders of her jacket. A dog barked again, closer than before. Naoko climbed a small out of a hill, stepped out of the pine wood, and hurried down a gentle slope. I followed 2 or 3 steps behind. "Come over here," I called toward her back. "The well might be around here somewhere." Naoko stopped and smiled and took my arm. We walked the rest of the way side by side. "Do you really promise never to forget me?" she asked in a near whisper. "I will never forget you," I said. "I could never forget you." Even so, my memory has grown increasingly distant, and I have already forgotten any numbers of things. Writing from memory like this, I often feel a pang of dread. What if I have forgotten the most important thing? What if somewhere inside me there is a dark limbo whereon the truly important memories are heaped and slowly turning into mud? Be that as it may, is all I have to do to work with. Clutching these fading, imperfect memories to my breast, I go on writing this book with all the desperate intensity of a starving man sucking non-bones. This is the only way I know to keep my promise to Naoko. Once long ago, when I was still young, when the memories were far more vivid than they are now, I often tried to write about Naoko, but I was never able to produce a line. I knew that if that first line would come, the rest would pour itself in onto page, but I could never make it happen. Everything was too sharp and clear, so that I could never tell where to start. The way a map that shows too much can sometimes be useless. Now though, I realize that all I can place in the imperfect vessel of writing are imperfect memories and imperfect thoughts. The more the memories of Naoko inside me fade, the more deeply I am able to understand her. I know, too, when she asked me not to forget her. Naoko herself knew, of course. She knew that my memories of her would fade, which is precisely why she begged me never to forget her, to remember that she had existed. The thought fills me with an almost unbearable sorrow because Naoko never loved. That's the end of the first chapter.